But let's move to the Lakers, who were blown out last night by the Thunder. LA already locked up the 1 seed in the West, and LeBron is out for tonight's matchup against the Rockets with a sore groin. But the Lakers continue to struggle with their shots, scoring only 86 points last night, their lowest point total all season. After the game, LeBron James said they're dealing with something they've never been through before. Take a listen.
This is a totally different situation than any other situation I've been in my career. So I have zero experience with having the number 1 seed inside of a bubble during seeding games, playing in August. So, this is all a learning experience for all of us, and we're going to take it day by day, continue to work our habits either on the floor, during the film session when we're able to get on the floor as well. But this is a totally different season, a totally different, drastic situation for all of us, including myself.
Drastic indeed. I'm joined by NBA champion and LeBron's former teammate Tristan Thompson and my guy Slick Ric Bucher. But Tristan, I'm going to start with you, bro. Are you worried about the Lakers' performance in the bubble so far?
No, not at all. Like you said, they got the number 1 seed. What's there to be worried about? Number 1 seed. I approach these games in the bubble right now as fine-tuned, tuning up. I think at the end of the day, they got AD and LeBron, 2 top 5 players in our league. Right now, it's about the role players getting adjusted. They did add, JR and Dion to their team, and, you got Markieff Morris. They got to figure out, rotation lineups. And I think, from experience, when LeBron would sit out games, it gave role players opportunities to, do more and get more shots. Like you see with Danny Green, he hasn't been shooting the best from 3, and guys have been out of rhythm. So with LeBron sitting out against the Rockets, it's more opportunity for guys to get shots up and play their game. And I'm not worried about that at all.
Man, I hate to disagree with the guy who I have so much respect and admiration for, a guy who I went to college with. But Tristan, I give you a reason to be worried. You said, what's there to be worried about? How about Lakers worse than points per game in the bubble, worse than field goal percentage in the bubble, worse than three-point percentage in the bubble, worse than three-point percentage and free throw percentage in the bubble? There's a lot to be worried about. And I understand basketball is different than other sports. I understand that the Lakers already got the 1 seed locked up. Maybe they're just practicing. Well, practice doesn't make perfect, contrary to common belief. Perfect practice makes perfect. And the Lakers right now, even if it's just exhibition, meaningless games to them, it's really not a good thing to go out and put out the performances they have. AD and LeBron, we know that they drive the team. We know they're the driving force to the team. But AD and LeBron put out their worst field goal percentage yesterday and second worst to the game against the Clippers 2 games ago. So Lakers, I am concerned, not because of maybe the long-term meaning, the long-term implications. But if you're looking at the right here, right now, LeBron, he doesn't necessarily have anything to play for right now, if you will. But AD, everybody questions whether or not he can show up in the fourth quarter. He probably got something to play for. Dion Waiters, he's still getting into things. J.R. Smith, he hasn't played meaningful or any minutes all season. He has a reason to play. So while Lakers fans can take the easy out and say, hey, they got the 1 seed locked up, they got nothing to play for, I'm worried because everybody except for LeBron, these games should mean something.
Yeah, I don't have a problem pushing back against Tristan because we didn't go to school together, so I'm good here. And I'm going to have to because I'm worried because LeBron is worried. LeBron is now talking about, I've never been a number 1 seed in the bubble. Guess what? Nobody else has either. I'm not hearing Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks talking about being a number 1 seed and being in the bubble and never faced that. And they've suffered a couple of bad losses as well. Now, I don't put a whole lot on the fact that they lost to the Thunder. Let's face it. They had locked up the number 1 seed. It doesn't mean whatever these seeding games mean, it meant even less. So I'll give you a pass on that. But I am concerned about the fact that LeBron is now talking about things in the bubble that he doesn't want to talk about. Well, if you don't want to talk about them, then don't bring them up. Like, I need to believe that you, LeBron, believe in this team. When you start to talk about things that aren't going your way in the bubble after being the number 1 seed, that suggests to me that there's something deeper than just a loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder going on. So am I worried? Yes, I'm worried because LeBron sounds worried.
Slick Rick, I love your hair. I love your hair. You look good. You look clean.
He coming for you, Slick.
He
coming for you, Slick.
But I will say this. there's a method to the King's madness. Let's just say that. This guy is a scientist, and everything he says, there's a bigger plan behind it. I know you're saying right now that, yes, he might sound nervous, but the King is just doing that just to challenge his teammates. He's just, at the end of the day, for the documentary, when it's all said and done for him, and he wins the championship, if he does, with his Laker team, we're going to pull back them coats. It's all part of his recipe. I think at the end of the day, for LeBron and AD, yes, these games don't matter, but I think for those other guys, it means a lot, and I think that's the opportunity that he's given them. I remember for us, Rick, you'd probably talk about it too. You remember our record when LeBron wouldn't play? It was me, Kyrie, K-Love, our record. What were we, like 2-18? And everyone would say, "Oh man, it's terrible. Like these guys can't win games without LeBron, and they're gonna fall short when they get to the playoffs and when they play against a team that can slow LeBron down. This team's in a struggle, but what do we do every year? Get to the finals, because one thing about LeBron, he's gonna elevate everyone's game. And for guys like Danny Green, Kuzma, Dion, JR, Dwight Howard, even when they get Rondo back, this opportunity right now is for them to just sharpen that knife, because LeBron's going to sit out a couple games, and AD might only play 30 minutes. But when it gets to the playoffs, Rick, LeBron's playing 44 minutes, AD's playing 40. So right now, I'm looking at this opportunity as like if it was myself, me, Shumpert, JR, Deli, we got to get our shots up. We got to get ready. We got to get in rhythm, because once that playoffs hits, when the matchups come, we got to be ready to come in and produce.
But here's my problem with what you're saying, Tristan, because here is why I'm worried. LeBron more than ever has had to put the load on him and AD's shoulders. You talk about the dudes who have to sharpen the sword back in your day, whether it was JR, whether it was Deli, whether it was yourself. Well, the dudes on the Lakers who got to sharpen their sword, they ain't sharpening it. Danny Green, what is he, 2 for 15 from beyond the arc in his last 3 games? The playoffs are finna sneak up in the next 2 weeks, and unlike ever before, there was a quick on-ramp from starting the bubble season to getting into the playoffs. I think sooner or later, it can't just be, LeBron's going to right the whole ship, because LeBron has had more help than he's ever had. If you're the Lakers, you can already assume LeBron's going to do his thing, get a triple-double, if not near a triple-double. But sooner or later, I feel like you got to be concerned about the other guys, because the other guys aren't showing up. That's where my main point of contention and main point of concern is.
I'm right there with you. And to your point, Tristan, yeah, you guys had certain guys who were unproven or hadn't done it yet, and they needed to come through. But there's a certain dog about guys that you say, okay, they haven't been there before, but I have the faith that when they face the moment, that they're going to be able to answer the bell. And I don't want to take it away from a guy like Danny Green. He's done it. And he does, as you have said, like there's guys, J.R. Smith, Danny Green, they have championship DNA. You know who else has championship DNA? Bill Russell and Bob Cousy and any number of guys. And what's the comparison? Don't you get old at some point and the mind is willing, but the body can't deliver it. And I feel as if there's some guys that are standing next to LeBron that you're looking at and saying, well, they've got championship pedigrees. Okay, but there was a reason that J.R. Smith wasn't on a team this year until the Lakers got to a point where they were so injured, they said, hey, let's go get somebody who knows how to play with LeBron, and let's hope he can catch some of that old magic. I need to see either some of the young guys, Kyle Kuzma, demonstrate, you know what, this moment isn't too big for me, this responsibility isn't too big for me, or one of the old guys to show me they can be what they were back when they weren't old, and I'm just not seeing it at this point.
Here's what else I need to see, Slick. I need to see the Lakers have a guy like Tristan who gave them 16 and 15 in Game 6 back in 2016. Shout out to you, Tristan.